Okay, here we go. Phone's very away. Wow. Early.
Mountain Dew and Pop-Tarts.
Yeah.
Can't have a better breakfast.
You're going to be a rock hockey player in about an hour.
Yeah. I shut my alarm off somehow.
I see. You need to wake up a bit?
Yeah. Working.
Okay.
Did you start this?
Let's take a look. Yep. Let's take a look at this map.
Yeah.
This is the 1876 presidential election map, and you are looking at what caused the end of Reconstruction. This is the end of Reconstruction. And so we're going to try and figure out, well, why? So can you tell who won the election?
No. Yes.
Very good. So look, the electoral vote is tied. Well, it's 185 to 184, so it's not tied, but darn close. The popular vote is extremely close. Notice Team Red is actually the winner of the 1876 popular vote. And if we do a little deduction, who's Team Red? What party, who's the name of this person? Who wins? The popular vote. Mr. Tilden, right? A guy by the name of Tilden, a Democrat. A Democrat won the popular vote. How is that possible? I mean, weren't the Republicans just the dominant party?
Didn't the North move down?
Yes, that's true. But wouldn't that mean that the Republicans should have won in the South? I had showed you previous electoral maps, and we identified that only 3 groups got to vote in Southern elections. And as a result, blacks were elected mayors and senators, and the South voted Republican. Grant was elected in 68 and reelected in 72. And here we are 4 years after Grant's election, and all of a sudden the Democrats win, including the North. Any insight? People were too something to vote in the South. Very good. So you were looking at the impact of the KKK. Very good. Any other theories? Have no fear of being wrong. Big deal. I think one of the things that's going on here is fatigue. Anyone know what I mean?
The war's over.
The war's over. How long has it been over by 1876? 10-ish, 11-ish years. It's been over for 10, 11 years. And you know what the Republican, Mr. Hayes, you know what he ran on? You know what basically his reason to vote for Republican was? We won the war! Vote for me! We won! Yeah, 10 years ago. It's over! Stop, the term was stop waving the bloody shirt. Right? Vote for me. Look what we did. Right? It's over. So fatigue is setting in. I think that's why the Republican, Mr. Tilden, won the North. The KKK had a large impact in the South. It was a very close election. It came down to 4 states. 1, 2, 3, and then Oregon was 4 for some reason. You are looking at the South. Look at the South. Identify, please, the 3 states where Republicans won. Go ahead and say it out loud, whoever, I don't care. Fla, and Sk. Very good. Fla, La, and Sk. More specifically, Louisiana. Remember, you eliminate a syllable. It's not Louisiana. It's Louisiana. South Carolina. But Florida doesn't count because old people live there. So it's Florida. Okay? You are identifying the 3 states where Republicans won. Guess which 3 states at this time still had Union soldiers occupying them because they had still not jumped through all the necessary hoops for full reestablishment as a sovereign state? Guess which 3 states were those 3, okay? And those happen to be the 3 states Republicans won. Let's just think this through. The KKK is rampant in the South, scaring those 3 groups. The KKK scaring freedmen, scalawags, carpetbaggers from voting. If you are a black man and you are being harassed by the KKK, to whom could you go for help? Supposedly the government, but as I said, all these other states, the Union Army had left by this time. There was no reason to continue a military occupation. So to whom do you go if you're a black man in, say, Arkansas? To whom do you go? For help against the KKK. Good luck is my point. There's nobody. You go to the cops, hey, I'm being harassed by the KKK. You know what the cop would do? Say, I'll help you, just a second. Sorry, what? Do you understand? The very people who at night did their midnight rides were the cops during the day. They're the same people. Okay? But there were 3 states where if you were a black man or a scalawag or a carpetbagger, there was someone you could go to. The Union Army. Those 3 states were the states where the Union Army was still present and blacks weren't just scared to vote because there's an actual police presence protecting them. And they voted. And they voted Republican. Careful here about concluding, wow, Democrats sure dominated. Well, yeah, because blacks were too scared to vote in the red states because there was nobody there to protect them. In the 3 states where there was protection, blacks voted heavily Republican. Okay, so you can see that the Republicans have an argument about, well, wait a minute now. Are these states legit? Are they legit? Was the election fair? Okay, and the states, South Carolina, Florida, and Louisiana, sent their election results to Washington, D.C., where they were tabulated. And this is weird, but South Carolina sent 2 sets of election results, and Florida sent 2 sets of election results, and Louisiana sent 2. Each of them had Tilden winning, and the other set had Hayes winning. So what do? You've got this result saying guy A wins, and this result saying guy B wins. Well, what do? How do you decide which one's right? You make a commission. You hire 11 people, and you say, all right, you 11 people, investigate. And they did. They hired 11 people or so. And it was definitely an odd number. And on that commission, there were 6 Republicans and 5 Democrats. And guess what they found? Guess who they decided was the winner in those 3 states where there were disputed results? The Republican. 6-5 was the vote in all 3. Right? So it's all good, right? Everyone's happy, right?
No. Everyone who won.
Yes. This is actually known as the Compromise of 1877. So again, the problem here is they don't know who won these 3 states. The Republicans claim they won. The Democrats claim they won. How do we know who's the winner? They made a deal. So in a deal, both sides get a little bit of what they want. What the Republicans get, they won. The Republicans swept all 3 states, giving them 1 more electoral vote than the Democrat, Tilden, and as a result, the winner. Oregon was also had a disputed election. What the Democrats get? The Republicans you get the presidency. What do we get?
A house.
No union soldiers.
What?
No union soldiers.
Very good. Remove all Union soldiers. Get them out. And the Republicans said, deal. Deal. Just project 4 years later. Guess how this is going to look?
All right.
It's going to be all red. Can you explain why you said that?
If there's no union soldiers, then people aren't kind of being defined to not hear anyone.
Very good, right? The KKK is now going to dominate. They are going to, this is going to be all red. And by the way, not only red for presidential elections, red for governor's elections, red for mayor elections, red for senators, representatives. The Democrats are back. There's one other thing you should know. And actually, we did come across this briefly in some of the documents. In 1872, a law was passed called the General Amnesty Act. Does anyone know what it was? Does anyone know what amnesty is? What is amnesty? If I grant you amnesty, anyone know what you got now? What has just happened?
Your freedom?
Kind of. Basically, it's all good.
Pardon?
You've been pardoned. Very good. Okay. Remember the scales of power? Remember? Okay. Before and during the Civil War, these people got it, these people don't. This is political power. The ability to vote, the ability to run for office, the ability to create laws. These people got it, these people don't. These are white, privileged Southern Democrats. These are slaves. Okay? Civil War. 13th Amendment. 14th Amendment. Remember, 14th Amendment stripped Confederates of the ability to run for office. 15th Amendment. Now, these people got it, these people don't. And for a little while, until this, here was the situation. And now, KKK. No, KKK. KKK didn't grant these people the right to vote, it just scared these people from voting, right? And now, General Amnesty Act forgives almost all former Confederates. A few hundred were still not allowed to vote. And now, Compromise of 1877. They got it back. Now all we need to do is elect people to set things right, to put things back the way they should have been in the first place, now that we got it back. Okay? Again, before and during the Civil War, a brief period right after the Civil War, after the Compromise of 1877, we got it back. And now let's make sure we put into place laws and policies to keep it this way. Anyone know what that was called? Those series of laws that kept it this way? You know, Jim Crow laws. You got it. Jim Crow laws. Very good. Okay, so I've just summed up what's going on, right? Basically, I'm putting into words what this stuff was. Okay, now the very three groups that could vote aren't, because the KKK is scaring them from voting. The former Confederates who couldn't vote now can, because of the General Amnesty Act of 1872. And now there's no one there to protect the three groups from voting. There's no one there to protect them from harassment by the KKK because the Union Army is gone. They're gone. They left. Now we're in control. Now let's put back into office the very people who a few years ago voted for secession. Let's put them back. Let's make them the governors again. Let's make them the mayors. Let's even send them back to Washington. The very same people who in 1860 seceded, got up and walked out of Washington. Let's send them back. Those people who were re-elected were called the Redeemers. Does anyone know what redeem means? Andrew Wiggins, last week, Friday,
Oh, no.
had an opportunity to redeem himself after one of the suckiest performances I've ever seen from Andrew Wiggins. What does redeem yourself mean? What does it mean?
To prove yourself better.
Prove yourself again.
Put yourself back.
31.
Okay. Okay.
You're on
The
bottom,
redeemers.
You're on the bottom and then you're on the top.
You're on the very good. You're on the bottom and then you put yourself back on top. These former Confederates were laid low by the Civil War. And now they're back. Now they're back. So who are these people? They're the very same people who seceded in 1860. They're the same people. And now they're back in power. They're the governors and the state senators and the state representatives and the national senators and the national representatives. They're the same people. And now what they're going to do, now that they're back in power, they're going to put into place legal laws that keep it that way. So they're going to cut education programs that fund former slaves, teaching them how to read and write. No. That's not government's job. They're going to make sure that blacks can't vote. But you can't say blacks can't vote. You cannot pass a law that says you can't vote if you're black because of that annoying Constitution. Oh, that 15th Amendment that says you cannot deny the right to vote based on race.
Citizenship.
The 14th Amendment, citizenship, right? But very clever. They pass 3 separate things that, when working together, have the net effect of denying the vote based on race. I mean, were there some wealthy enough, literate blacks? Sure, there were some, not many, but there were some. They got to vote. Okay. But remember, poll tax, a tax on voting. Blacks had no money. They were former slaves. You were not paid. Now, were there some poor whites who also couldn't afford it? Yep. Literacy test. Remember, during the age of slavery, it was illegal to teach a slave how to read or write. Now, were there some illiterate whites? Yep. How do you get poor illiterate whites to vote without letting poor illiterate blacks to vote? Grandfather clause. There it is. There's your trump card. There's your joker. See how clever this is? Nowhere in any of these does it mention race. It's brilliant in a morbid Nazi or smart people sort of way. The net effect was it denied former slaves the right to vote. Go ahead.
I thought the KKK was scary, but that guy seems real happy.
Yeah, this happy KKK guy, yeah. This was a political cartoon run in the 1870s, which identified that the KKK were in cahoots with the Redeemers and called the White Leagues, and who's the victim, right?
Yes.
What the Redeemers do? They created these poll tests, literacy class, and grandfather class. They also created legal segregation. Legal segregation. Separate facilities. You'll be here, we'll be here. Okay, now these are by state. These are states that did this. So surely there would have been an opportunity for some person in the South to argue, wait a minute, you can't separate us based on race. That violates the 14th Amendment, which says you have to treat everyone equally, right? And that's exactly what happened. Some situation in a southern state identified separate facilities that were not equal, sued, makes it to the Supreme Court, and it might have been a hotel, okay? Separate hotels. I don't know if it was a hotel. I really don't know, but it doesn't really matter. Some private company that said, oh, you're black, you need to go over there. Oh, you're white, you can come over here. Some private facility that segregated based on race was sued. Makes it to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court says, oh, well, wait a minute now. The government isn't forcing private institutions to not treat people differently. We are only talking about government institutions, schools. The Army cannot segregate. Private institutions? Yeah. Hey, I have a question. Can somebody in downtown LA that owns a jewelry store, downtown LA, stick his head out the door, see 3 black guys walking like that, quickly shut the door, lock it, closed. And they try and open the door, we're closed. They walk away, he unlocks the door and opens again. Can you do that?
Yeah.
Well, I have a vote for yes. I mean now, today.
Yeah.
We have a vote for yes. Anyone else want to?
But the Supreme Court ruled that it was only state government
That's true, at the time.
at the time.
We're talking about at the time. What I'm wondering is this still true today?
No.
Some of you are saying no. I've got a vote for yes, and some of you are saying no. The general conclusion is we don't know. We don't know. Hey, can you do this? What if you are a wedding cake maker and you strongly believe that marriage is a marriage of one man and one woman? So 2 guys walk in and they're totally in love and they're flamingly in love. You know what I mean? Like they're all over each other. And you're the cake maker. And they say, oh, look at that one, honey. And they want that cake. Can you say, I'm not selling you a cake. I don't believe in gay marriage. Can you do that?
Yes.
We again have a vote for yes. Can you refuse service as a business?
As a private.
As a private business, can you refuse service to customers?
Isn't that like
Hey,
the law?
how about this? You go to Target and you buy the biggest, juiciest, fattest ham. And you put it on the conveyor belt and the Muslim person selling says, I'm not selling you that. My religion forbids me to have anything to do
We
with
had this
pigs.
conversation. You said, then don't work at Target.
Can you do that?
No.
Okay, a vote for no. No. Well, now you're saying no?
Wait.
You just said yes a minute ago.
She changed her mind.
Yay! Okay. I'm telling you that at the time, this is late 1800s, the Supreme Court ruled, go ahead and segregate private businesses. We're only talking about government-provided services that have to treat everyone equally. In other words, here's the thing that you're taking out of what I'm saying. The federal government said, hey, South, go ahead. Segregate. We'll do nothing about it. Not only will we remove all soldiers from the South to protect you, but we give you our blessing. Jim Crow laws, go ahead. We'll do nothing about it. Not that we agree with you, but we're not going to stop you from segregating based on race. Okay. How come the Supreme Court did not stop these 3 things? Why didn't they stop it? Not our problem. Who are we to tell states who they can or can't allow? As long as you're not denying the right to vote based on race, who are we to tell you who can or can't vote? Just for your perspective, if you are going to argue that Reconstruction failed, what you could do is find out, when did these 3 things end? When did they end? That would be when the goal of Reconstruction was realized. And I'll give you a clue. They ended around Martin Luther King, which is not a time, but I think you know what I mean. Yes? They ended around the 1960s, not the 1860s, the 1960s. That's 100 years. Now, did Reconstruction succeed? You are free to argue yes, because there's no way Martin Luther King would have gotten done what he got done unless they did what they did in the 1860s, 1870s. They needed to start. Now, it didn't get realized until then, but again, you've got to start somewhere, or you're free to argue, no, Reconstruction failed. Reconstruction failed. What succeeded was the separate historical event called the Civil Rights Movement. That was the success where Reconstruction failed. Great. Okay. I am now showing you some examples. My favorite happens to be this drinking fountain. That's the white drinking fountain. And way over here, all the way over here is the black drinking fountain. So if you're a black person over here, you got to take another step. Damn it. Now, of course, the whites could say, well, yeah, but what if you're a white person over here? You also have to take another step. So it's fair. It's fair. Right? Separate but equal. Now you might say, well, those aren't equal. That's a nice looking drinking fountain. That looks like a toilet. Colored waiting rooms for doctors, private. Separate hotels. Now you might notice this one says, hey, no whites. No whites allowed. So see, it's equal. Whites would want to have this hotel room apparently, and the hotel would say, nah, no whites welcome here. And the white person would say, damn it. See? Fair. No one's being discriminated against. Well, you're both being discriminated against. Fair. Separate but equal. Okay. Think of our bathrooms. Our bathrooms are separate but equal. Each bathroom provides the necessary tools to satisfy the needs of the person entering the room. I ever tell you that one time, true story, this is maybe 5-6 years ago, had to go take a pee, so I walked into the room and I stood there and said, hey, what'd they do with the stand-up latrine thingies? Because the boys' bathrooms have running water thingies, stalls. And they said, hey, they removed the stalls. And then I realized where I was, and I backed out slowly.
That's cool.
Right over there. I really had to go. I said, what'd they do with the stuff? Luckily, no one was in there. Okay. Any questions? I have given you a lot that you could use in a successful lesson. That's it. Once again, we've got porta potties right there. I remind you, tomorrow is due date for 3 things. A KIA, a primary document that you're going to show me a physical copy of, and a synthesis quote that you're going to use in your essay.
That we can print off on it.
Please do print it off. Yep. Again, if you don't have it by tomorrow, you don't lose points. It's just, I'm a little worried about it. Okay. That's it. The rest of the hour is yours. You got 20 minutes. Get something done. Get something done.
I'll get some sleep then.
You don't need sleep. You have Mountain Dew.